He was born a serf, was arrested 3 times and exiled for his anti-government views. He was forbidden to draw and write poetry, yet he continued to do so in secret. It sounds like the outline of a Hollywood biopic designed to wring emotions out of audience in movie theaters. In fact, I have just briefly described the life of the Ukrainian poet Taras Shevchenko.
I composed verses for which no one paid me a penny, and which, in the end, deprived me of my freedom.
Taras Shevchenko is the foremost Ukrainian poet and a symbol of the struggle for freedom that, ironically, he kept losing. He spent his entire life, 47 years, in the Russian Empire and only 12 of them as a free man. In this video, we will explore how Taras Shevchenko found the meaning of his life and remained true to it until his dying breath.
We ask each other on this earth, why did our mothers give us birth? Was it in truth for good or ill? Why do we live? What is our will? Why do we die with wistful mind and leave unfinished deeds behind?
The central theme of most of Shevchenko's works is the tragedy of an individual or of an entire people. And the only way out is the struggle for freedom. In Shevchenko's view, being born unfree is only half of misfortune. What is truly terrifying and shameful is to do nothing to change one's condition and to die without ever knowing freedom.
Let not free Cossacks thus remain, to perish in foreign land. What shame on earth for this our band, and shame on doomsday to arise, and show our shackles in the skies. When to thy judgment seat we come, and bear chains of earthy doom.
Shevchenko was born in 1814, a quarter of a century after the Great French Revolution. By that time, its ideas had only just reached the Russian Empire, where most people were still living in serfdom. Liberty, equality, fraternity seemed like a fresh and bold vision of a bright future. The present, however, was bleak. Shevchenko saw it in this way.
O God, thou givest to our lords rich orchards in thy paradise, and palaces to please their eyes, but in the greed their hearts uplift. They spit upon thy gracious gift, and would compel my soul to grovel, if I should watch them from my hovel.
Shevchenko believed that the experience of the French Revolution could and should be applied in the Russian Empire. And not only because the politician situation was ripe, but also because scientific and technological progress made it necessary. Knowledge is a precondition of freedom. In his diary, the poet addresses the famous inventors Fulton and Watt, who created the steamboat and the steam engine.
Your young child, growing not by the day but by the hour, will soon devour whips, thrones, and crowns. What the encyclopedists began in France, that colossal, brilliant child of yours, will complete across our entire planet.
Shevchenko believed that bringing ideas of enlightenment to the masses, teaching them to strive for freedom, was not only the task of philosophers and revolutionaries, but also of artists. He himself never backed away from this mission. Moreover, Shevchenko dreamed of one day becoming an engraver, so he could disseminate the knowledge of his time and make it more accessible to the people. At the beginning of the 19th century, engravings were a kind of wow technology and, in terms of their influence on people's minds, were comparable to today's YouTube.
To be a good engraver means to be a bearer of what is beautiful and edifying in society. It means to be a bearer of the light of truth. It means being of use to people and pleasing to God.
Shevchenko understood that spreading knowledge means preparing the ground for the rebirth of freedom. When a person finally gains access to their own history and culture, they inevitably begin to analyze and to doubt. It becomes harder to them to accept that social inequality is supposedly ordained by God. They begin to ask questions about their identity and their past.
Then ask yourselves, now who are we? Whose children? Of what fathers born? By whom enslaved in utter scorn?
If you start asking yourself questions like that, you risk no longer accepting the real state of things and resigning yourself to the absence of freedom. And if your ancestors were slaves, then perhaps at least your grandchildren will be free. That is why Shevchenko regularly offers admonitions, almost last wills, to the next generations.
Then let your heart, in love sincere, embrace her mighty ruin here. Break then your chains, in love unite, nor seek in foreign lands the sight of this not even found above, still less in lands that strangers love. Then in your own house you will see true justice, strength, and liberty.
You see, he is talking about freedom again, and this is yet another appeal in the spirit of the French Revolution, to build justice and equality on the bloody ruins of one's own homeland, rather than seek them somewhere else, for the road to freedom almost always runs through suffering.
A broad, well-trodden road leads out of paradise, while into paradise there is only a narrow little path. And even that is overgrown with thorny brambles. An old woman, close to death, used to tell me when I was still a child, and she spoke the truth, whose meaning I have only now fully unraveled.
It seems this was not simply a piece of folk wisdom from an old woman, but virtually a prophecy for Shevchenko himself. He learned from bitter experience that anything that comes to you easily is of no real use. It does not help us develop. For the sake of both personal and common good, one must constantly endure and go through ordeals. Perhaps when you spend your entire life unfree, this outlook helps you not to give up and to believe that these sufferings have some deeper meaning. After many years in exile, many noted that Shevchenko, surprisingly, did not give the impression of a broken man and managed to preserve his values. He himself understood this.
And from the depths of my soul I thank my Almighty Creator that He did not allow that terrible ordeal to lay its iron claws on my convictions, on my childlike, radiant beliefs.
In exile, Shevchenko was forced to serve as a soldier in the north of the Russian Empire. In the final years of his service, he kept a detailed diary in which he wrote about how steadfastly he endured his wretched existence and how he found small joys in meetings with compatriots, in secretly writing poems, and in his friendship with a local dog. Above all, in the fact that despite the demands placed on him, he never did become a good soldier, a cog in a terrible imperial machine. Shevchenko quite literally boasts that he never even learned to handle a rifle deftly.
I told myself they would not make a soldier out of me, and they never did. I not only failed to study any rifle drill in depth, I did not even learn it superficially. And this flatters my self-esteem.
Even in such small things, he saw an opportunity once more to affirm his freedom of will despite having no real freedom. In the end, after he obtained it, Shevchenko remained under police surveillance until his death. He never managed to return to his homeland or die a free man. In his principal and most famous work, 𝐾𝐽, one can see how the dream of returning home is gradually displaced by the faint hope of at least being buried there.
When I shall die, pray let my bones high on a mound remain, amid the steppeland's vast expanse, in my beloved Ukraine, that I may gaze on mighty fields, on Dnieper and his shore, and echoed by his craggy banks, may hear the Great One roar.
His will was fulfilled, and in time he was indeed reburied in Ukraine above the Dnieper. Only after his death did he truly gain freedom, but I believe that this would have been enough for him. And if we were to sum up the meaning of the poet's life in the single phrase, it would surely be this.